What's happening, guys? So today we have new information about basically content and changes to classes that are coming with Unreal Engine 4. Right now, Korea has a lot of changes going on. Majority of this information is from the Alice Discord, which is something that I follow a lot. They have a lot of new information. I'll leave a link below if you want to follow their Discord because they always post stuff. Basically, they have Korean speakers on that Discord and they translate stuff that gets added to Korea into English for us so we can kind of understand what is coming to the West. So right here, we have some really interesting stuff I want to talk about. Basically, the party buffs that we have right now in the classes that are known for it, like Kung Fu Master, Assassin with their blue buffs, Gunner, Archer classes that have Alpha Call, which reset buffs like blue buff and all that. Those are all going to be changed to self buffs. And this is a very big change to Blade and Soul because no longer we're going to have those party buffs in the game. They're going to be stronger versions of those buffs, but just for a self buff against bosses. Now, this is a very interesting change because it kind of changes how you form parties for raids, for dungeons, because majority of raids always have, of course, Kung Fu Masters, and they have Assassins for the blue buff, they have the Gunners for the Alpha Call. Now with those being removed and changed to a self buff, it's going to be interesting to see how these raid compositions are going to be changed because of this. Another really interesting thing is the Phantom Grip and Grab. So Blade Dancer has their Phantom Grip ability, Destroyer has the Grab. Those are being buffed, and this is a change I'm a really big fan of as being a Blade Dancer main. Phantom Grip has not been relevant for literally since like the level 45 days. Like it hasn't been relevant in so long. It's actually insane. It's one of those abilities you just never ever use because it's just a waste of time and your DPS is just getting wasted by using a boss in Phantom Grip. So with it being buff, I find this very, very interesting because it could bring back a playstyle that I found was really neat. It was really cool using Phantom Grip on bosses back in level 45 days, like using it for Bloodshade Harbor, grabbing bosses and everything, where even probably back then it wasn't really that needed, but still it was kind of fun to do it. I would love to see them bring that back, so this is very interesting too. Soul Fighter also got a grapple skill, which is cool. Another thing they added was an effect that strengthens your abilities when a melee class uses an iframe and it's successful. So this is kind of a thing that they talked about in the past where they're going to add changes that actually highlight people who play well. So let's say you do a perfectly timed iframe on a boss, you'll get some ability, I guess, that strengthens your attacks for a limited time, probably like a little self buff or something, just to kind of reward players who play well. So this is an interesting feature that in there. Basically, Blade Master, Kung Fu Master, and the Warden. Warcry are being removed and replaced with the taunt skill, maybe just to have better tanking, I would assume. I really don't play any of those classes, so I'm not really sure on that part. Threat from the Humble Points has been increased. This is probably really necessary because as classes get more gear and more DPS, having more threat into the Humble Points is important so you can remain tanking easier. And then lastly, they added a skill that increases the breaker gauge for some of the classes. Now, I mentioned the system a couple weeks ago. They actually made a YouTube video on it. I'll leave a link below if you haven't seen it. Basically covered it, where it's a breaker gauge system where basically over time you use certain skills that build up the breaker gauge. And once you fill up the breaker gauge completely, the boss is basically CC'd for a long period of time where he can't really do anything. And this allows your whole party to basically burst the boss down. And with this, it's kind of a new system that allows you to kind of coordinate in time when you want to actually fill the breaker gauge, because it's only used on certain skills. So you can choose kind of when you want to build it up. Maybe you want to use it to like suppress a big boss mechanic so that the boss doesn't use it. Maybe you want to do it right away as fast as possible so you can have that time to burst down the boss. There's just different ways to use this type of playstyle with the breaker gauge. So this is that new system they're adding. Again, I'll leave a link below if you want to see more detail about it. But that's a new thing they're adding for that. Overall, a lot of new changes for the classes. I'm really interested to see what the future of Blade and Soul is going to be like without the party buffs, because it didn't say anything about Warlock getting their Soulborn removed or Warden getting their Soul Flare removed, so I'm pretty sure those are still in the game. But no more blue buff and no more alpha call. It's interesting to see if this will maybe revive some of the classes that didn't bring the party buffs to the table, because for example, a class like the Destroyer is not a very popular class, and with it not having a party buff, it's not really wanted in most parties. So having something like all these party buffs being removed to self buffs, maybe there's a chance that these other classes will be revived a little bit if they get those self buffs too. If they don't get a self buff, they probably won't be as strong still, so it probably won't really work out too well. But it's interesting to see that this is a new system they're adding. So anyways, that's really the information we have here. I just wanted to provide you guys with it so you kind of have an idea on what Korea and what they're doing over there, what they're working on. They're changing a lot of class skills, and these party buffs are being removed and adding self buffs, adding the breaker gauge skills. So there's a lot of big changes coming to the game. It's not like we're just getting the engine update. There's a lot of new changes to the classes, to the content. It's going to be a very interesting, basically like a new game once it launches in the West, probably in late August, early September. Overall, I am interested. I have to say the fan drip ability and the grab, like for example, if I use fan drip on my Blade Dancer, I'm basically holding the boss, so I can't use any of my DPS skills. So I do around like 6 to 7 mil DPS. So I'm losing out on like 7 mil DPS per second because I'm holding the boss in fan grip. So this fan grip ability has to be so good for the party members. Like it has to be insanely good. Otherwise, it's just never going to be good enough to use. So that's unfortunately the thing there. It's cool that they're buffing it, but it's going to have to be insanely good. Like give some great party buffs, which maybe it will. That'd be interesting to see. If they do that for the Destroyer grab too, where it gives like insane party buffs when you grab a boss, I think that'd be cool because it could revive the Destroyer class, which is, again, not very popular. So interesting stuff here. We'll have to wait and see what they do, but that is a lot of changes we have here. I'll let you guys think about it. Leave a comment below what you guys think about this, and thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, sub to the channel. More content coming out soon.